Good evening. This is the demo lesson for the first 20 minutes of the adapted SIOP lesson plan for English language learner students. I apologize for the lighting content. Unfortunately, I don't have access to a lot of good video equipment. However, I'm going to send the PowerPoint along with the link to the video in the email and the materials that I use to present this lesson to you after I upload it to YouTube and everything. Now, today we're going to be talking about the objectives of the Allied powers during the Second World War. Before I begin anything, here's certain things to keep in mind. Words that are in red are important, and those are the ones that you want to take notes on when you see them in the slides. These are the graphic organizers that I'm going to hand out to all of you. This defines who is the participant, what is happening, why it's happening, when it's about to happen, where it's going to happen, and how it happens. I'm going to hand these out to all of you so that you have a framework of how to organize these thoughts. Now, these are some of the vocab words that you're going to come across. These ones are very important to keep in mind. The first one is an alliance. Now, as you can see, it's an agreement between two people that they make for certain reasons. Another one is a democracy, which is like America, where we live. This is something that is involved with people's participation. Next is a battle or a hostile encounter when people fight each other. Also is an army, a group of people that get together to fight for a cause. And lastly is regionalism. Now this one is a little tricky, however, basically it's any kind of custom or idea that a lot of people agree on. And it generally happens in a very large area of the world. Like, all the countries in green speak Spanish. So this is a regional phenomenon. So what we're going to do today, your goal ultimately, and I'm going to help you through it, is you need to identify the major objectives of the Allied powers, or the good guys, during the Second World War. There are 5 of them, and here's who they are. The first ones were Great Britain, France, which is right here for now, the Soviet Union, and the United States later, and China. And they were fighting these guys, the Germans and the Japanese and the Italians, or the Axis. They were the bad guys. This is what was going on. So, they weren't doing so well in the beginning. And this was in 1941 when this country, America, entered the war. France was under Germany's control, so they had them under submission. Then Germany also invaded everything that's in gray here, and North Africa, which is right here. There were attacks going on by the good guys, the Allies, in North Africa during these years, 1942 and 1943, and the Allies started to do a little bit better. However, World War II wasn't happening in just Europe. It was happening in 2 places, Europe and the Pacific Ocean. So the United States, this country, was preoccupied in the Pacific at the time, and they couldn't really help out as much in Europe. And they decided that in order to win that war, they needed to win this war first. Now, we're going to go over each of them one by one. Now remember, the words that are in red are very important, so keep them in mind and take notes on them while you're doing it. And I'm also going to show you what you're going to be doing later. The United States of America, America here, they wanted to win the war in Europe first. So in order to do that, they had to secure an alliance with the Soviet Union, or Russia, Russo. They needed to neutralize, which means stop, fascist occupation in all of Europe. Fascist meaning bad guys, the Axis. So they could turn their main attention to the Pacific. But again, in order to do that, they had to form an alliance with the Soviet Union. But they didn't necessarily like the Soviet Union that much. But they had to do it in order to stop the Axis powers. Second is the United Kingdom. They wanted to liberate or free European countries from Axis or Nazi control, and they wanted to bring democracy, which was people working together again to get certain things done, to Europe again. And in order to do that, they had to push all the Axis powers out. And it's secure as a dominant economic authority, which meant that they wanted a lot of money. And if they were going to get a lot of money, they needed a lot of land in order to do that. Next is France. They wanted to liberate or free a country, their country, from Nazi control. Because remember, Germany had them under their power. France wanted to do that, and they wanted to form a new republic, which is another word for democracy. They wanted to form the fifth one. France overthrew the fourth one. Germany overthrew the fourth one. The French wanted to establish their fifth one. Next is my personal favorite, the Soviet Union. They wanted to expand territorial influence in Eastern Europe. So this half is Eastern Europe. Everything in pink is where they were trying to get control over. Everything in red is what was already under their control. This goes back to what we talked about before, regionalism. In this case, the thing that everyone in this region or area shared was communism, which was everyone sharing something for the greater good. And in this case, regionalism was called the Warsaw Pact. However, they wanted to accomplish this by aiding or allying themselves with Western powers in combating the Axis. Now, in China wanted to establish their independence or making decisions for themselves from Japan, which was one of the bad guys right here, just like Germany was. Now, Japan was all up in here in China at the time being. China wanted to get them out so that they could have independence and make decisions for themselves. Now, we're going to do a little example together. Basically, what I want you to do, after this lecture is over, I want you to split off into groups, and I'm going to assign you in groups, and I'm going to give you certain materials that I want you to use. I'm going to be around to help, but each of you is going to be split up into 5 groups, and I'm going to assign you one of the countries that we just talked about. Now, I already told you what their objectives were, and you should have been taking notes on your graphic organizers. If you need any additional help with that, I'll come and help you with it. So right now, what we're going to, you are going to, from your assigned Allied power, you're going to add a little bit more information to what I already covered in this. And you're going to do that by reading and talking about with your group members from a newspaper source or an academic article like this one. And you're also going to have access to a laptop, and I'm going to give you a 3D model. It could be a military medal from the armies or the people that were fighting for the countries that you're going to be talking about. And with those, I want you to look over them, and you're going to put more notes on those graphic organizers about some of the information that's in that. And if you need help with certain words that you might not understand, you can ask your group members, or you could ask me, and I will help you out. Write everything down, and later on, you're going to present it on the next lesson. However, in the meantime, we're going to go over an example together. All right, so if we're talking about America in your graphic organizers, the WHO in this case is the United States. And what you're talking about specifically, let's say you're talking about the alliance that they had with the Soviet Union or Russia. and you're going to write down why it was important. They did that because they needed an ally to fight the Axis powers, or the bad guys. When did that happen? That happened in 1942. And where did it happen? Well, in this case, it happened in another place called Tehran. But you can say it happened in Europe, that place we were talking about. And how did this happen? If you look in your notes, in the research that I give you, that's going to be the details I want you to add, is the how and the where. Everything else I've already provided to you in this lecture that I presented. But these are the only two things that you need to fill in yet, and you're going to present it later. So these should be in those articles that I give you, and if you need help finding them, I will help you find them. So in this case, the how for this example is the Yalta Conference, which happened in a city with really tall buildings called Yalta. Now again, if you need any help, I'll be around to help you guys out. And later on, with your group members, you're going to write all this information down that you find, and you're going to present it next lesson. And that will conclude this. Thank you.